Audio check. All right, we have audio. Hello, everyone. I am Blazar Gaming, playing City Skylines. Last time on City Skylines, was working on trying to get control of the sine wave nature of this game. Where it goes up and down, up and down, up and down. And I was working with getting the level of the water up some because I had drained the river so much. So now I'm trying to build a business park for commercial business park, anticipating the turnaround of my population again soon, I hope. I've came up with some theories of why it's doing what it's doing. Why it goes up and down, up and down. One theory was that there's so many entities in the game that decisions the game makes is based on information that it had a while ago and not current information. That's one theory. So I would have low unemployment and population would be rising. And then there would be no demand for jobs. So the population, so all the new people coming in say, hey, there's nowhere to work. So they'd leave. And as they start leaving, then all of a sudden, there'd be a demand for jobs. But when the jobs got created, there were no people because the people had already left. Just a lag factor, lagging behind. That's a theory. There's no proof, just a theory. But that's the behavior I was seeing. Population goes up, Unemployment goes up. There's no jobs. Population goes down. Unemployment goes down. Jobs go up. But there's no people. Everything's running at a lag behind kind of deal. Again, just theory, just speculation, no facts. So I'm waiting for this to turn back. The nice thing is, as it was doing its ups and downs, it would go from 3% population to over 30%, not population, unemployment. It'd go from 3% unemployment to over 30% unemployment. Well, since I decided that that's the issue, or speculated that that's the issue, the lag behind stuff, I decided next time it went up to not allow the unemployment to go up. And how do you do that? I forced job growth as the population was going up. I didn't wait for the population to demand jobs go up. I did the demand myself, manually, using Demand Master. And in doing so, I slowed down the apexes of the highs and lows of the population. I didn't stop it. It still did it. But I was able to lower, adjust. I don't know how to explain it. By manipulating demand myself, instead of my unemployment going from 3% to 33% as the population went up, I managed to get it to go up no higher than 9%. Now that was still enough to turn the tide. Even 9% population was enough to make the people want to leave. Wait a minute. How much distance do we have between nodes here? We don't. Uh-oh. I can fix this one. I made this too small because of the space I'm in. I should have made this 4 instead of 6. I can still fix it. We'll see. Maybe it's small enough that traffic won't be bad. If traffic ends up being bad because these are too close together, then I will change something. I'll either make this come out, go under, and come in, or I'll get rid of the middle entrance and fasten this onto this side. This is the smaller side. Make this one, this one, this one, this one. Maybe. We'll see. But because those are so close together, I can't do my magic. I'm afraid this is probably the same way here. Yep. There's no node in the middle here. So I can't force these guys into the left lane. They'll be stuck going left. They're too close together. This one has a node. So this one I can do. Now if they need to get out of this lane, they can do it here. But this one doesn't have one. They're too close together. Okay. Population may have turned around. We're back to 3% unemployment. We do have 25% senior citizens. And yes, death rate's up. That's another thing I have to manipulate. Healthcare is so expensive, but death care is tied to it. So when I'm raising death care to get more hearses on the road, if you don't know what a hearse is, that's the vehicle that picks up bodies, people who have died. To get more hearses on the road, I increase the budget. But since death care is tied to health care, it costs a fortune to just get more hearses on the road. Well, I could go around and double the amount of could always add more crematoriums and then delete them when I don't need them. But that's a pain. I can turn the knob up on healthcare to get more hearses on the road. Okay, that's weird. Why is that weird? That's why it's weird. Guess if you look at it with this, yeah, it just shows straight and straight. I guess because that angle. We'll see. Okay. And we need water. Nope, population hasn't turned around. It was just a temporary. Okay, we've got water. Let's do electricity next. Okay. This is how I bring electricity into the business park. Okay. Now garbage collection. Okay, that's a strange message. Cannot create any more objects of this type. Have you ever seen that before? I'm unable to create any more roads of any type. You guys ever seen that before? Game won't let me create any more roads. I can't create any more roads. Phantom lane remover. Yeah, I've tried everything. Highway 4 lanes, highway 3 lanes, highway 2 lanes, extend the slip lane. I can't create any more roads in this city. Phantom lane remover. Oh, no. Allows you to detect and remove phantom lanes if your save file is suffering from that problem. Chances are very high you don't have this problem and don't need this mod. Allows you to detect and remove phantom lanes. Okay. So obviously, if somebody wrote a mod, it is a thing. It's a thing. It's a real thing. Thank you, Angela. Could 256K be the limit? Could 256K be the limit? Where's my calculator? Use my iPad. Calculator. Net nodes 32K. Yep, it's exactly 32K. 32,768. Ah. Are these the limits? Hmm. 1,024 times 256 equals 262,144. Yep, that's 256K. These are the limits. Well, I don't have 36,000, but I do. Yep, it's my net nodes. Yeah, I've never run into this problem before. Didn't know there was a max. Think of nodes sort of like intersections, or the point that the first segment of a path connects to. Each node contains 0 or more segments. Oh. So. It is a lot of roads. Yeah, it's a huge city. Yep, Angela, you gave me the information I needed. There are limits. There are limits. Like I've been saying day after day after day, the game works pretty well as you go up, as you go through the game works brilliantly as you go through the milestones. 360 population, all the way up. Big city, grand city, colossal, metropolis, all the way up through population 90,000. And then it continues to work really well. Past 90,000. Up somewhere around 150,000. Then it goes into this craziness. Population-wise. But I had no idea there was a limit on how many roads and nodes you could have. It's not surprising, but they don't really expect you to go this far, I don't think. Somebody in my chat one day said he had a city of 1 million people. Of course, somebody in my chat could tell me they were Donald Trump too. And even if it was, there's no way to prove it. No, it doesn't seem to be the computer. Anything to do with the computer. I'm running an i7 6-core 12-thread CPU. 6850K. Yeah, I could. I could destroy my small towns. I've got several small towns around the map. I've got this small town, got this small town, that one, the one that was in the way. If I'd known I was going to run out of roads, I could have demolished this small town. Got this small town out here, this one out here, this one out here. I turned off despawning. I don't know if that has anything to do with people, but let's see, what was the keys to open that back up? Forgot what the keys were now to open that back up. Well, you know, that's still good to know. There was some other information on that screen too. I'd like to see that screen again. There were other things I was getting close to the limit on. Not just It did mention a limit of number of people of 500 something K. But I've had over 600,000. It might not have been people. It was people units. Maybe that's housing. See, I've had other big cities. 432,000. 254. But here's that 500K save where I started this game. Here's this. This is the one that went over 600,000. But began breaking. So I started a new one, called it 5K plus. I tried Control P. I tried Control Alt P. Yeah, I've got half a dozen small towns that are still low density that I could wipe off the face of the map. But what's the point when I know I still have a limit? What's a net segment? Road sections. Still got plenty of road sections I can use. It's the nodes I ran out of. What's a lane? Pedestrian paths, bike paths. Ah, see, nodes are between everything. What are citizen units? A citizen unit, group, transport, and account for citizens moving around your city. Could be more or one CU per vehicle. More passengers, the more CUs. But yeah, I've run out of nodes. Think of nodes like intersections. So, what I need to do is come up with a plan to build a city. If I want to do a mega city with the whole concept of no nodes. Let me check something and see what's the key to get this open again. Control plus P and L. Control PL. Yeah, that's it. Control PL. PL. What's that stand for? Phantom lanes. That's what that stands for. Let me delete one thing. um, one thing I don't need. I like everything I have. Let's go out to one of my small towns. Let's delete this back here. Yeah, I don't know how that would have ever worked. That's going the wrong direction. That's how that's supposed to go. All right, so I deleted that. Let's see if that's enough to add my garbage collection. Oh, I want to set these all back to 0. For now. Not -2. I want 0. Oh, there we go. That one's 0. All right. Yep. That's what it was. I've reached a limit. How in the world did you know about that, Angela? Have you run into that before? How in the world did you know that? And obviously the guy who created the mod knew about it. You Googled the error message. Isn't Google such a nice thing, I tell you. Can't create any more. I can't even connect these. I have to delete to add. Like I said, I could nuke this whole small town over here. Or this one way out here. My question to myself is, do I want to continue on if I know I've got this issue? What's the point, right? If I deleted these little towns to give me a little more room to do stuff, I'm still going to run out. That's information you'd want to know before you start. That's information that would have been handy before I started building mega cities. Because then you could plan your city as you go. Always knowing you're going to have an issue. Like right here. I don't need this piece right here. Yeah, there's people using it, but they could have walked on down this way. If I free those two pieces, does that count towards my nodes? Yes. So even walking paths count. Even walking paths count. So yeah, that would be information you'd want to know in advance. How about water? I guess water segments might count too. They might not. Either way, I've added water. I've got electricity. We've turned around. What's my unemployment? %. Let's see how much industry and stuff we may have lost. A little bit. Now let's go 15. Ah. And then 15. And then let's put a fire station. Police patrol. Walk-in health clinic. Death care. Garbage. Even electricity counts. I've got to delete something before I can add another electric. Fix this over here before I go. So a town like this, where I run electricity all the way out to it, it would have been better to have had its own electricity source. Because all these power lines cause problems. Everything causes problems. Imagine the metro. Instead of metro running all the way out here, should just run a bus. See, those are things you want to know in advance of building a city. Minimize the number of everything. Trees? I hope not. Well, let's see. That should be easy to test. All right, that's going to take too long doing it that way. Let's do it this way. There we go. I've run out of objects. Let's delete a tree. Let's delete a bunch of trees. Oh, trees are here. So let's delete a bunch of trees. Right here. Nope. Trees don't count. That'd be too easy. So trees have their own limit. So trees don't count. Ooh. Let's see why I'm losing so much money. Okay, healthcare is still turned up. Okay, there's still a bunch of dead people need to be picked up. So every time I want to build something, I've got to delete something. Yeah, that's something you'd really want to know in advance. Any future mega cities I build, I will plan appropriately. Even something like this Panavia, it's got a lot of nodes. Look at all those nodes, all those little white circles. There's two real close to each other. Whereas something like, if I can find one, yeah, here. These very inefficient ones. They've still got a lot of nodes. But probably less. So some assets that you use are going to make that count go way up. Definitely something you'd want to know in advance if you're going to build mega. But it obviously happened to this guy who wrote this mod. He had it happen to him or her. Wonder if anybody's written a mod to exceed the limits that the game has put upon you. But like I said, they didn't really build cities, skylines, to go this far. It took mods. The most population I've ever gotten without mods is about 200,000, maybe 192 or something. And I've still got that city. But I didn't save it before I added mods, which as I look back on that now, I regret. If you wonder, I don't know if I told you earlier, but the reason I exit all the way to the desktop is because my game freezes if I just exit to the main menu and then try to load another. It just locks up. Cities locks up, not my computer. Let's see if I can find it. Is it Spring Valley? No. But I do like Spring Valley. And the only reason I abandoned Spring Valley was because mass transportation magically started breaking, disconnecting. Riverton. Was it Riverton? Doesn't look like it. 214,000 people. New mega city. This looks like it might be it. 254,000. No. This is definitely it. No, maybe not. Maybe it is. It's only 100,000 here. So no, it can't be this one. Duh. Yeah, it's definitely not here. This must be a no mod game. What a mess. That's spaghetti. Quick to the main menu. Excuse me. That definitely wasn't it. I don't know if I'll be able to load another city now. Mega city. No, I don't think so. This is the same map that we're using now. I named it Farmington. At 500K, I made a save. Then I continued on. I got up 620,000 or so. And then mass transportation started breaking. 102,000, 111,000, 93,000, 63,000. Okay, what was it then? It's not Mega City at 432,000. New Mega City, 254,000. This might be it. Let's see if it'll load. I don't have much luck loading a city from the main menu after I've already loaded a city from the main menu. It usually reaches a certain point and then freezes. I don't have much luck reloading from the main menu. It's still stuck there. Let's see if it's this one. Everything looks really tight. And the reason everything's really tight is because I started with no mods. So I had to utilize every square inch that I had to get to almost 200,000 people. And then I wished I'd saved it before I continued on. This one's a long, long ways from running out of nodes. And I think it had a lot to do with the fact, yep, this is it. You can see my 9 squares and how densely populated it is. I got almost 200,000 people in those 9 squares. And I wished I'd saved it. And then I added the 81 tiles. So why did I abandon this city at 254,000? There was a reason I abandoned this city. Oh, this is one of my smaller mega cities. I just went back and showed them one of my smaller cities. This one, you can see my 9 squares. before I added the 81 tiles mod. This is one of my smaller mega cities. Trying to remember why I abandoned this one. There's always a reason for abandoning. Otherwise, I just keep going. You know, this might have been the city I was working on before I started playing City of Heroes. And so I just left it and didn't come back. Because I started playing and streaming City of Heroes. There may not be anything wrong with this city. Let's see. Electricity's good, water's good, garbage is tight. Education looks pretty good. People happy. %82 traffic. Can you imagine having a city this tight? 200,000 people crammed into such a small space? And still have over 80% traffic flow? That's what I do. Some people build these beautiful cities with the aesthetics. Okay, thanks for stopping by, Vince. Some people go and build these beautiful aesthetic cities, and I love to watch videos about those beautiful cities. I build efficient cities. I want stuff to be able to get from point A to point B without ending up in a parking lot. Without despawning. You can see everything in here is tight. This is how my residential areas looked. You'd come in deep, and then you go garbage collection. That's all commercial. You have a design question? I'll try to give an answer if I can. I build a lot of pretty neighborhoods and connect them to the highway. Is there a reason why you don't connect some of them directly to take some stress off the highway? Here's a neighborhood. It's connected directly to the highway. So I don't guess this is what you're implying. Here's a neighborhood. Connect directly to the highway. If you're talking about when I start a game, my triangle method, if you're talking about my triangle method when I start a game, early game, low population, where connect neighborhoods together. You mean connect neighborhoods together instead of to the highway? Well, they still have to have access to the highway. I showed that in yesterday's stream. No, not yesterday's stream. A couple of days ago. In my small towns video last week. In my small towns. I was trying to create small towns. I was trying to create small, self-sufficient, self-reliant towns where you have just enough people and just enough industry and just enough commercial that everybody's content in a small town of about 3,500 people. And they don't go anywhere else. They stay there. And then I built a second town of about 3,500 people. Self-reliant, self-contained. They don't need to go anywhere else. And I built one on one side of the river, and I built one on the other side of the river. And then during a death wave, I noticed they weren't picking up the bodies. And I tracked it down and realized that a cemetery over here on this side of the river was spawning a hearse to go pick up a body, but then it would instantly despawn. And then it would respawn, and then it would instantly despawn. And what was happening was it was spawning to pick up a body on the other side of the river, and there was no road. There was no way to cross the river. And so, because that one hearse kept spawning and despawning and spawning and despawning over and over and over again, none of the other cemeteries could spawn because that one had it all tied up. And therefore, nobody was picking up the bodies because it couldn't reach the person that it was trying to get to on the other side of the river. But you're asking is connect neighborhoods together instead of forcing traffic onto the highway. They still have to have access to the highway because city services has a big issue in this game. If I build a town up here in the corner of the map and I give it fire, police, ambulances, city services. Well, I just explained it with the river analogy. You cannot build anything that doesn't have access to something else. Everything has to have access. Or the game breaks. Because of what I just explained with the with the hearses. Definitely need highway, but sometimes it's shorter to connect some neighborhoods together. I guess let me go back to the other city. Maybe you could help me pick an example of what you're talking about. Unless you're talking about something you do and not something I do. You build a lot of pretty neighborhoods. Maybe you're talking about me. You specifically said you. Maybe you're not thinking of you in general, but you, me. Me, Blazar Gaming. I have no issues with combining residential to residential. The only time I run into I'm not going to do that is if industry has to pass through residential to get to commercial. That breaks my triangle rule. My triangle meaning these three things. Residents, when going to the store and back, should never have to pass through industry. Residents, when going to work and back, should never have to pass through commercial. Trucks passing between industry and commercial should never have to pass through residential. So, if there's an example over here that you could tell me as to why I invoked your question. All my people live here along the river. And yes, sometimes they are not connected together. Like this residential area is not connected to this one except by walking paths. So maybe you mean when I built this residential area, why didn't I just connect it to this residential area instead of giving it its own highway intersection? Maybe that's what you mean. Sometimes it's a shorter route to connect some neighborhoods together. So these neighborhoods look like they're connected because there's even a road up here, but they're not. The only way to get, here's where the dividing line is. Right through here. There are no roads intersecting this neighborhood from this neighborhood. Only walking paths. So yes, I could have connected these together instead of giving them an intersection. If that's what you mean. Over here, this neighborhood connects to the highway here. This neighborhood does not. It connects over here. And I've got walking paths in between them. But in theory, I could remove this intersection and just run some roads in between this side and this side. I could remove this intersection and just run roads from here to here, because they're really close to each other. Over here, see, there's just a walking path that connects these guys. I've got an intersection that takes care of these. In theory, all of my residential could have one intersection to the highway. And you just pass between each other on roads and walking paths. That would free up a lot of network nodes. That would free up a lot of network nodes if I got rid of all the intersections but one. Yeah. Let me see if I can find one of my triangles. Here we go. Well, every one of my small towns, is based on my triangle method. Here's the entrance to the interstate. Here's the triangle I built. All my residents are on this node. All my industry is on this node. All my shopping is on this node. The trucks can pass freely back and forth on this big highway. If they need to export, they hit the highway. Or on this big road, big avenue. It's not a highway, it's a big avenue. If they need to export, if you're overproducing, you need to export. So you need access to the highway. If you're underproducing, you need to import. So you need access to the highway. Your commercial and industry need access to the highway. Your people don't. That's why I put them farthest away. So, if this guy goes to work, he drives down here, goes to work, and then he drives back. He did not have to pass through commercial. If this person over here, this lady, wants to go shopping, she comes down here. Roundabouts break my triangle method. A roundabout breaks my triangle method. I can't use roundabouts because then all your trucks are passing through the residential node to get back to industry. But yeah, this is how I start a town. I put industry near the highway. Well, of course, when you start a town, you first want residential. Well, I go ahead and build this triangle and just leave these roads empty. And then I go out here and I build my residential. And then when I get a demand for industry, I put it here. And then when I get a job for commercial, I put it here. But traffic is always well controlled by doing that. Here's my next triangle. People, industry, commercial. And the trucks easily pass back and forth between each other and easily hit the interstate if they need to. But that's the way all my small towns are. This one is still a triangle. It's just a little more sophisticated. All my residents live on this node. All my industry is on that node. And all my commercial is on this node. And then here's the way to the highway. It's still a triangle. It just doesn't look like a triangle. It's actually an intersection. But I would never put industry over here and make it pass through residential. I'd never put commercial over here Because even though it would be easy for the residents to go shopping and back, trucks would have to pass through to get to it and back. So that's the triangle. Residents, industry. So here's the triangle. Even though it doesn't look like a triangle. And then here's the triangle out here. My biggest small town. I have 60,000 people live in this town, but they still have to obey the same triangle rules. And then when my city starts growing too big, I end up, if this is where I began the map, and this became my city, everything that's not residential here, I would move. You'll have to go back and watch me start one of my cities. Go to my YouTube channel and see how I start. And then, of course, you don't have to watch it hour after hour after hour. Then you can fast forward a couple of hours and see where I am. But at some point, you'll see me completely move all industry and commercial away from my residential. And all my industry and commercial starts going into these. And because I haven't been paying attention to my city here, not that I know that I'm going to even continue this city now that I know that I've reached its limits. But yeah, if you go to my YouTube, it's Blazar Gaming, but it's got a space in between Blazar and Gaming. You can watch me start from scratch. But all of my industry and commercial will get moved out and into these things. And then I expand my residential. What used to be a small town that had everything becomes a residential park or a residential area. Because once your population gets to a certain amount, the triangle method doesn't really matter anymore. You want to get all your industry and commercial away from your residents, because mass transportation will move your residents. Mass transportation causes you to no longer to worry about the triangle method. Once you have mass transportation set up and you can move people anywhere you want to in the city without them having to drive, then the only thing you have to worry about from that point on, the rest of that 84% traffic, pretty much is nothing but trucks and city services. You'll have the occasional tourist. You'll have the occasional resident. You'll have an occasional tourist come visit the city and leave. You'll have an occasional resident go visit a city park and come back, or a plaza and come back. But most of the time they can reach all of those by your mass transportation too. If you are good with your mass transportation, you should eliminate all residents from driving, unless they're driving a truck, to and from commercial and industry. But the triangle method is good when you begin, to help you with your traffic management. And the funny thing is, every time you log into City Skylines, it'll show you a tip. And some of the tips are about traffic management. And if you look at them closely, they're saying the exact same thing I just said. They just word it differently. You never want a truck that's passing from industry to commercial and back to ever impede residents. For residents to never impede your trucks. Your trucks always need to get where you want to go. And with these, I've learned that if you have the right amount of industry and commercial, the trucks will stay inside the rectangle. Truck will come in here and deliver, and then come back. Well, he has to go around to come back, but city services, there's nothing you can do about those. They go wherever they want. I could pick a garbage truck or any kind of a city service vehicle. There's a garbage truck. I'm guessing he came from there just because he's empty and there's one right there. So that's not a good example. Let me find one out on the highway somewhere. Either a police car or an ambulance or a garbage truck. You can't keep those guys local. They go wherever they want. There's a garbage truck. Where did you come from? Look at that. He came from way over here. Where the heck's he going? There's nothing you can do about that. Where did he come from? Okay. Where is he going? And why? He came from way back here. Somewhere. I forget where now. So where the heck's he going? And why? Because I think the city services queue everything up. I think there's a queue in the game, unseen to us. Somebody says, I need my garbage picked up. The game looks in that queue and sees which is the next service somewhere on the map available to go pick up that garbage. It doesn't care that there's a garbage next door, a recycling center next door. It's picking out of this invisible queue in the game. And he's coming over here to pick up garbage. Probably in Birdsong Square over here. Nope. He's coming down here to Birch Hills or... If you noticed, he just passed a recycling center. He just passed a recycling center. Fire engines will do the same thing. A fire engine will go past other fire stations that have available vehicles to go put out a fire somewhere. Because their time in that queue came up. So this guy's picking up garbage over here. And he came, I forget now where he came from. He came from over here. See, distance, they look really close. But for him to get here, yeah. He had to go. Somehow he had to get out of this office park, get to the highway, take the highway all the way around, and then come in over here. And then when he's full, which he is now, he's got to hit the highway, go all the way back around into this business park to get back to where he came from. And this one here, all its garbage trucks are in use, but they're probably not here. If I located a garbage truck from here, he's probably gone over somewhere else. There's just no control over city services. A lot of it's birds fly, as a bird flies. I've showed that before. There's a all right. For example, if this house caught on fire, this fire station would dispatch to put out this fire. There's no way to get there. He'd have to come out here, 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 to put that fire out. The funny thing is, here's a fire station right here, which could have got and had it out in no time at all. Nope, there's actually one right here. There's a fire station 2 blocks, 3 blocks away from it. So if this one's closer, by way of crow flies, he will come to put the fire out, not him. This one might be closer. So that wasn't a good example. But I think you understand what I'm saying. If this crematorium caught on fire, this guy's probably closer the way a crow flies than this one is. So he would dispatch a fire station over here. It's just the way the game works. Okay. It's Friday. I think I'm going to call it here for today. My stomach is cramping up on me. Not very comfortable. And I really need to rethink what I want to do. If I want to demolish a whole bunch of stuff so I can continue with this city. These things have a lot of moving parts. If I can find a more efficient way to handle this. See, I could delete these roads because they really don't get much use. I've just got a lot to think about now that I understand this, that there are limits. Just have a lot to think about. Okay, let's save my game. My YouTube people, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'll see you in the next video.